Hi, I'm Joe Sillay with Federal National Commercial Credit. I'm here today with Jim Cox of IC System. I've known Jim several years now. You know, in my business of providing working capital finance to small businesses, sometimes I'll come across a client or a referred business of some kind that believes that what they need is financing. And they may. Very often they do. But sometimes someone who thinks they need financing, actually what they need is some improvement in the way their customers pay them. Sometimes they have 1, 2, 3, maybe more customers that are not paying them in a reasonable time frame. This is what Jim's business concentrates on. It's collection and collection management, credit and credit management, and his company is very, very good at it. As I said, I've known him several years. I've made several referrals of Jim. He's always represented very, very well. He's an expert. He's been doing this for nearly 2 decades. So we're going to talk to Jim a little bit about his company and what they do.
I'd be glad to. Thanks a lot, Joe, for introducing me today.
My pleasure.
IC System is a privately owned, family-held company based in St. Paul, Minnesota. I have been actually with the company 22 years now. First part of March is my 22nd anniversary, and the company is 75 years old this year as well. We focus on collections. The credit management aspect of it is not a function that we provide. With my networking, I do have resources in that area as well. I'll be happy to introduce people in that regard. So our specialty is collections. In a nutshell, we can help companies with seriously past due companies that maybe are bad debt or ought to be written to bad debt, and help collect as many of those dollars as we can. I call that collecting the no pay. Another area we can help with, which may be even more common, is a lot of the companies are entrepreneurial naturally, and that's why they're successful. And so we can help with what I call collecting the slow pay, where the primary focus of the management and the entrepreneur is don't mess up my relationship with my customer. And so we have some ways to treat them very softly and yet help them understand that it's important to pay timely. It may not meet the terms on the invoice, but maybe it's pay in 90 days instead of 120 or 360. And so we can help also the entrepreneur understand that once they're comfortable with softer, slow pay processes that we have in place, then it's okay to bring us on board, and then we'll get some of those accounts resolved and collected. And then maybe the entrepreneur doesn't need us for those customers anymore, but now is understanding how we operate and is comfortable, and may have other customers go 60, 90, 120, 150 days, and we'll help with those.
That's interesting, Jim. So if we could summarize that, Jim, IC System helps customers with their bad debts, but also helps them accelerate the slow pays, speeds up their cash flow.
Absolutely.
Good. Just a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind, Jim.
Sure.
I know our viewers would be interested in knowing whether or not you have any particular size preferences or size restrictions.
Not at all a problem, Joe. We can work with, and I can work with entrepreneurs that have one problem account right now. I can work with entrepreneurs that are larger companies that have many problems or concerns right now.
So a business that has, let's say, one $30,000 receivable out there from somebody that they're really starting to worry about, maybe that item is out 60, 70, 90 days or so, and they're very concerned about that item. Is that too small an account for you?
Actually, no, it's not, Joe. I appreciate your asking the question, but I'd be happy to work on it. And another way to answer that question is, if it's one $30,000 account that's out 90 days, to me that is a good challenge. Because in our world, that is more likely to be collectible. Much more likely, perhaps, than if it's 180 days or a year old or older.
Interesting.
I'd be happy to look at it.
So that's a very good point. Anyone who does have these items that are creeping out there, it's good for them to bring in someone like you to at least have a look at it and advise them about it a bit before it gets too old. There's an important threshold there. As it gets older and older, it gets harder and harder to collect.
That's absolutely the case. Actually, when the accounts are aging past 90 to 120 days, they're falling off the table in terms of a rock falling in a lake. It's sinking really rapidly in terms of any ability to collect at all.
Interesting.
The entrepreneur needs to understand that, more likely actually, that they'll never see the money. That's the worst case scenario, but it's realistic to have those expectations, unfortunately.
That's a good rule of thumb, and I'm sure viewers appreciate that. One other question, if you don't mind, Jim. Let's talk about geography. We're here in Portland, Oregon. You and I have networked a lot in the Portland business community. I know you serve this area. How about the rest of the country? Does IC Systems serve the country more broadly? And how about you yourself? Can you serve a customer outside Portland?
IC System is a nationwide collection agency, and so we can work with accounts. Our clients can be anywhere in the U.S., and the companies that owe them money can be anywhere in the U.S. Doesn't make any difference to us. In terms of my own role, I'm more than happy to talk with any of you that want to talk with me. Doesn't make any difference to me where you're located. With the technology and internet and phone, we can talk. If you're in Florida, that's fine with me. I have a client in Rochester, New York, and we work well together. I don't care where you're located. I'd love to talk with you.
So if you have a client that particularly wants to get face-to-face, they can't be comfortable without that, how do you address that?
We have salespeople in our company nationwide, and so if needed, we can work on that as well. I'll be happy to help you out there, and I'm going to want to take care of you myself if I possibly can.
Listen, Jim, as always, it's a great pleasure to spend some time with you. Thanks very much.
I appreciate it very much, Joe, and thanks for listening and watching, everybody.